In a time when much around us feels fragmented, accelerated, and uncertain, this mid-year update from the Globally Responsible Leadership Initiative serves to bring a hopeful and encouraging reminder. The nature, depth, and the quality of relationships that we nurture is one of the most accessible, affordable, and impactful forms of innovation available to us as a species, especially in the current context where technological disruption, extractive leadership, and shrinking ecological boundaries seems to be overwhelming all of us.
Indeed, John. I'm reminded of the influential 1972 Club of Rome report, Limits to Growth, which was complemented a few years later with the publication of a lesser known, but perhaps even more important document entitled No Limits to Learning. New forms of learning and education for individuals and society can lay the groundwork to deal with the global issues we are facing every day. So, if we look beyond superficial networking, institutional politeness, and transactional memberships, it becomes clear that meaningful relationships need to be valued. That is to say, that patient work of listening, connecting, remembering, challenging, and acting together across differences.
Advancing what we're now calling relational innovation in order to develop global responsibility is the work that needs to be done. Of course, at GRLI, our goal is not to do the work by becoming a large organization, but to keep that question of developing global responsibility alive and visible and actionable in the places where it really matters. What follows is a snapshot of what's been moving, what is taking shape, and how the GRLI continues to work scattered globally, yet together across the broader business education and responsible leadership ecosystem. The monthly council pulse sessions are becoming an important space for our partners and associates to stay connected, to see what's emerging, and to keep the inquiry moving between the more formal moments of governance and our initiatives. Visit the blog for regular updates and reports on what is being discussed there, and don't miss the upcoming pulse sessions.
The GRLI Collaborative course is also moving into its next cycle after a short reassess in 2025. Expressions of interest are open until the end of August, with modules beginning in late September. Let's keep in mind that regardless of whether your institution is actively driving this initiative or not, the learning from the work is available to all.
The Deans and Directors Collective gathered earlier this year in a virtual setting hosted by SP Jain in India on the topic of wise innovation. And we're pleased to announce that Maastricht School of Business Economics is preparing to host an in-person gathering for Deans and Directors in Q2 of 2027.
The Impact Innovation Circles, inspired by Be the Tipping Point vision, is naturally centered around a more relational work. It is designed to help institutions explore new ways of collaborating, learn from practice, distill what matters, and pay that learning forward into the wider responsible management education landscape. Two circles are now meeting regularly, with the third forming. A research paper highlighting some of the early learnings will be presented at the 2026 RME conference in September.
Then the GRLIs continue to show up inside the wider ecosystem. In Ethiopia, at the Association of African Business Schools Connect conference, we co-led a session on innovation with integrity. Through the Higher Education Sustainability Initiative, or HESI, we facilitated a global fishbowl on scaling up train-the-trainer programs with more than 100 educators joining the conversation. And we continue to provide input to the HESI coalition of UN entities to shape policy in higher education for sustainability. We also contributed to the Claudio podcast in Latin America on flourishing and the reinvention of management education. Spoke at the PRME India conference. And our partners are contributing and continue to contribute to the RME Week, which was hosted in Cairo, the RRBM Summit, and then at the EFMD annual conference in Seville, several of our partners hosted panels or presented keynotes. Recently, Loyola Marymount University brought the world to Los Angeles by hosting the PRME North America event alongside the International Association of Jesuit Business Schools, and creating with local businesses and community leaders a tri-sector innovation event.
We continue to support landscape level conversations alongside Club of Rome, EMA, GBSN Prime, and others, asking how different actors in responsible management education ecosystem might better see one another, coordinate without controlling, and create conditions for more systemic impact. We're developing ecosystem stewardship work connected to the Higher Education for Good Foundation and Donna Bertarelli Philanthropy, to strengthen the connective tissue of the landscape and hold the memory of the ecosystem. Worth mentioning is the ongoing engagement with Equal Network, helping shape and prepare the soil for a pre-competitive coordination space for the responsible management education landscape.
And speaking of working behind the scenes, our website was rebuilt earlier this year and revitalized. It also includes a new ecosystem map that's now published, which makes visible more than 150 entities across the landscape. And alongside that, we've been circulating new brochure materials that better tell the story of the GRLI in a clear and accessible way. We are pleased to welcome new and returning energy into the partner and associate community, which includes Sulitest, the International Humanistic Management Association, LUCIM as an associate partner, and the University of Pretoria, inclusive of Gibbs Business School, recommitting as a full institutional partner. And we want to remind our partners and associates that their engagement in the GRLI is not a membership. We encourage them to nominate up to 20 individuals, which can include student leaders, faculty members, staff, or partners that are perhaps beyond the learning institution's immediate borders.
As we look toward the second half of 2026, join us at a monthly Pulse session, as John already mentioned. Explore the GRLI collaborative course, follow the work of impact innovation circles, and be the tipping point. Additionally, you are more than welcome also to join the circle or create one. Look at the ecosystem map and help us see what we are missing. And tell us where global responsibility is already being activated in your context, which we can amplify. Global responsibility, all of us hold the question.